Hey guys, I was watching a video by Can Survive 55 where he was Texas rigging a worm for open water fishing. And since there's no ice fishing to be had, I kind of got a little bit geeked and started thinking about open water fishing myself. And he had asked me to show him the way I Texas rig my worms. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how I do that. Mainly for him so he can see the way I Texas rig my worms and my grubs. So without further ado, let's get to it. This is the hook and this is the worm. This worm is actually a bit too small, but just for the demonstration of how I rig this, it'll work fine. I try to find the seam on the worm. There's usually a seam line, but if you can't find it, don't worry about it. And I go in right to that first bend on the hook and pull it through. I believe Can Survive 55 did that the same way. Bring it around, and when you get to that bend in the hook up by the eye, you want to flip it and then push it right over the end of the eye to completely cover that knot. And then this is where my knot varies from his, or my hook varies from his. He did something like a double knot, but what I do is I just lay it on there, and down here where the hook bends, that's where I enter the worm, and up here where the hook ends, that's where I exit the worm. And it's important to get it real straight. And another important thing is once you get it in, push that hook all the way through. Now this is just my own way of doing it. You might have a better way or something, but I push it all the way until that barb is completely through the worm, and then I push it back until that worm is completely, the hook is completely hidden back inside that worm. And then you may just have to pull on it a little bit to get it straight, because just like Can Survive 55 said, you want that worm to be perfectly straight, or else it's not going to track right in the water. For one, it's just going to make it look unnatural, and the fish aren't going to be attracted to it. And for two, like he said, you know, it's going to put a lot of twist in your line, and you'll just have problems. But bring that hook all the way through, and then bring it back inside the worm so you can't feel that barb. By bringing it all the way through, you make a path for that hook to go through and into the fish's mouth. And it may sound silly because this rubber is pretty soft, but if you don't bring it all the way through, that's where you'll lose hookups. And really, you know, even though this worm is a bit small, this would be a good setup for a semi-light biting bass. I'll go ahead and show you this same hook with a twister grub body. Apologize for my voice, but I must be getting a cold. I think I'm losing my voice. But for the Mr. Twister grub-like jigs, I usually just go to the second nubby on the head of that jig. Oh, and one thing, for the Mr. Twisters, you want the curve of the tail to be facing the hook when you start this. And you want to make sure you bring that hook out on the seam of the lure where it was manufactured. Go to the second nubby, bring it out, bring it around, flip the hook, cover the knot with the body of the jig, And then you can see where that hook's going to go in and where it's going to come out. That's all I do. I just line it up. I bring it in. And I do my best to come out right on that seam. Bring it out and then push it back so that that hook, that barb, is inside the jig body. See, that one's not quite straight, so I need to redo it. Actually, I think this grub is defective, but we might be able to make it work. I bought these grubs for walleye fishing, and they're manufactured a dime a dozen, so they're not as high quality as the Mr. Twisters. I prefer the Mr. Twisters. That'll work. That's on there straight. It just looks like it's not straight just because this grub is somewhat defective out of the mold. But that'll swim straight through the water. And it'll swim just like this. This will be down, this will be up. And the weight of this will allow you to cast it. I typically don't use a weight. Sometimes I'll put a very small split shot right on the tip, or a very tiny cone swivel or slip weight. But the main thing is just to have that body straight this way and this way. And you want that tail hanging down. That way it'll be hanging down in the water, and when you pull it, it'll do its little thing. But like I said, this is a great rig for fishing over lily pads and over milfoil in the summertime because it's virtually weedless, even with fine weeds, and you can work it nice and slow. If you have no weight on here, you can work it really slow, and it entices those bass to come up and take it. That's it. Thanks for watching.